Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. It's me, Addy again, and I hope you guys are doing alright. Happy New Year, by the way. I hope you guys have a fantastic 2022 and that this year goes better than the last. I know it's been a few months since I've uploaded anything to my YouTube channel, and that's because I've been busy over on Twitch playing through Death Stranding Director's Cut. Now, this is a game I was very excited for. The base game is actually my third favorite game of all time, so I couldn't wait to get my hands on the definitive version of the game on the PS5, which adds a ton of new content to a game I already love. So over the past couple of months, I've been very slowly but surely working my way towards 100%ing this game and getting that sweet platinum trophy, because that's the way we roll here, right? We 100% the games that I love. And we finally completed the main story of the game a few nights ago over on Twitch. Granted, we still haven't gotten all of the trophies yet, so I'll probably do one final stream at some point just to snag them. But we're now at the point where I can confidently review this game, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Now in this review, I'm mainly going to be focusing on the new content that was added with the director's cut version of the game, since I've spoken at length in the past about all the things that I loved about the base game. But yeah, to quickly recap, I love Death Stranding mainly due to its story, characters, and the central theme of the game. These are all things that resonated with me and did so much for me personally. And when a game can do that, it easily goes in my top 3 of all time. Despite its surrealism, the unique post-apocalyptic world of Death Stranding is incredibly captivating and features a rich story with a deep cast of characters, all of whom contribute towards furthering the game's central theme of connection. And it's not just the characters who forge bonds with each other over the course of the game, but it's also the players themselves, as they get to place down a variety of helpful structures to assist other players in completing their own deliveries in their own game worlds. And I love that, because even though this game is all about just making deliveries between various preppers and heavily fortified cities in a lonely world, the game's execution of that concept is fantastic. Through the characters, narrative, theme, and also the sheer joy that helping others brings you via asynchronous gameplay, something as simple as being a delivery man has never been more fun to me. The game world, in spite of its dark and demoralizing subject material, has glimpses of hope and humanity, and the fact that you as the player get to exercise these concepts through helping others with virtually no way to do the opposite makes me so happy that a game like this exists. Ultimately, for all of those reasons, Death Stranding is a masterpiece in my heart. It's truly a 10 out of 10 game, and one that, despite being so different, is a beautiful work of art that stresses the importance of video games needing to take risks and do something different from time to time. And that last bit there is something that's going to be very subjective. You'll either really like that about Death Stranding or you won't, and that's totally fine. You've just got to give the game a shot to figure that out for yourself. But yeah, if you want to see me cover more stuff about the base game, I highly recommend you check out my review of the Death Stranding books, and also my very first video on YouTube in which I discuss my journey and experience with the base game. But okay, let's shift gears for now and talk about the Director's Cut edition specifically. So what are the new additions to the base game, and are they any good? So I'll start by answering the "are they very good" part with a resounding yes. Essentially, the Director's Cut edition improves upon the base Death Stranding in every way possible. There's this astonishing amount of new content added here, firstly through new structures, of which the cargo catapult and jump ramp have gotta be my personal favorites. Apparently, we can use the ramp even if we don't have a vehicle, so let's save scum here before we do it, and let's try this out. Oh my, what the fuck? That was fucking awesome, man. And there are new vehicles too, which I honestly think made the biggest difference in gameplay. With new vehicles like the transport bike and the roadster, which is essentially a Batmobile in Death Stranding, many of the deliveries from the base game that were quite tedious to complete have now been made significantly faster and easier to complete. Especially those cursed pizza delivery missions, man. Looking at you, Peter Englert. And hey, there's even a new highway you can build, allowing you to drive through the mountains now, which was a previously cumbersome area to walk through. And speaking of roads, there's now even a brand new racetrack as well. That's right, you can now turn Death Stranding into what is possibly the greatest racing game ever by competing in a variety of time trials against other players. There are also many new gadgets and gizmos, of course, some of which are incredibly fun to use and which, again, make the game so much easier to play through. Case in point, the level 3 backpack stabilizer. What the hell is that, you ask? Well, I like to call it the jetpack, plain and simple. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. I can fly! No fucking way! Dude. One of the really neat things about all of the new and old gadgets in Director's Cut is the fact that you can now test them out in a variety of trials in the brand new firing range area, which, like the racetrack, is a fun way for you to compete against other players in timed drills. And I think this would be a good time to mention the ranked leaderboards, which are another new addition in the game. By doing these trials, you can compete in Death Stranding's new leaderboard system, and depending on which rank you get, aka how well you perform in these trials, you get a certain amount of medals as a reward, which is incredibly useful if you're looking to build roads at some point, which are very medal-hungry structures. Lastly, there are some new missions in the Director's Cut version, some of which allow you to explore entirely new areas added to the game in fun new questlines, like the factory one, which is very Metal Gear-esque in the best way possible. And some retrieval missions ripped from the PC port of the game that allow you to unlock some pretty cool drip that are references to other games like Half-Life and Cyberpunk. Norman Reedus wearing Keanu's legendary Silverhand shades was a pretty dope combo I never imagined until I played this game. Anywho, I ultimately think that new ways to interact with other players and more ways to have fun completing your deliveries is exactly what the base game needed, and what Director's Cut managed to deliver on very well, pun intended. The purity of the base game remains intact here, which is probably the most important thing, and now what we have are more engaging ways of experiencing it, which is especially important for newcomers who've never played Death Stranding before. But speaking of newcomers, here's where I'm going to touch a little bit on what is probably my only gripe with Death Stranding as a whole, and something that I wish the Director's Cut version polished up on, but sadly never did. And that's the barrier of entry. Both the base game and Director's Cut version put very little effort into easing the player into the gameplay, and I attribute that specifically to the game's overwhelming user interface and the borderline absurd amount of menuing there is in the game. Stuff like having to go through 4 to 5 screens just to make a simple delivery or to recycle something basic from your private locker can get frustrating, especially if this is your first time playing the game and have yet to comprehend the interface fully and digest all of the information being presented to you. And my god, man, the information on these screens, and the UI for that matter, really can feel like you're reading the back of your router or a 100-page instruction manual for simply connecting 2 Lego bricks or something like that. It's just too much, and I wish there was more simplicity in it all. I definitely remember feeling overwhelmed on my first playthrough of the game a few years ago when the base game was first released, and even though I'm well versed with everything in the game now, a veteran porter, if you will, I definitely empathize for all the newcomers who've yet to play the game and understand all of its gameplay systems and how they all interact with each other, especially if they hop into the Director's Cut version first, which adds way more content over an already poorly explained video game. The experience of Death Stranding is fantastic once you get into it, but getting into it is frustrating, and I just wish that it wasn't. So the one thing I hope that Kojima Productions really improves upon in their future games is their interface design and tutorials. Their games need to ease players into them a little bit more easily. So for that reason, even though my personal rating of Death Stranding and the Director's Cut edition remains a 10 out of 10 because of how deeply I loved the game despite these flaws, I'd have to remove a few points if I were to look at the game a little more objectively, and I think an 8 out of 10 is a pretty good place to put this. So yeah, let's go with an 8 out of 10. But overall, there is a solid definitive version of a video game here that you absolutely should play if you loved the base game, or if you just haven't played the game at all before but you're interested in giving it a shot. This version of the game pretty much improves upon the original in every way. But yeah, that's it for this review today, guys. I should be making an irritable experience video soon, which is going to be a pretty epic clip collection of sorts that sums up all of my funny, wholesome, and overall memorable moments from our Director's Cut playthrough on Twitch, so stay tuned for that. And if you do want to check out the VODs for our playthrough, I have all of them saved over on both my Twitch and my second YouTube channel, which you can check out in the description. But until then, you can catch me on one of my streams on Twitch, where I hang out way more often than over here, that's for sure. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Keep on keeping on, and thank you so much, you guys.